This episode is brought to you by Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street. Craving something delicious in Paso Robles? Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street has you covered. Enjoy tasty sandwiches, fresh salads, and smoothies like the Banana Nut Blast, my personal favorite. Kick back on the covered patio, sip on a cold beer and wine, and enjoy the easy parking. Order online for pickup or dine-in. And here's a treat. Use promo code PODCAST for $5 off your next order. That's podcast for $5 off your next order. Open daily from 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Rad Scooter Deli. Local flavor, fast and fresh. This episode is brought to you by the White Wave Wellness. Choose to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a process of change and growth towards a mentally and physically healthy lifestyle. Reach out to Jennifer Hale to learn more about how this water can change your life. This episode is sponsored by Western Janitor Supply. They have cleaning supplies and equipment for any workplace. Call today at 805-238-2112. They provide an extensive line of chemicals, paper products, and floor equipment. Again, that's Western Janitor Supply, located in downtown Paso Robles. This episode is sponsored by Santos Bros Plumbing. Are you in need of a dependable and effective plumber you can trust? Look no further than Santos Bros Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers in Paso Robles, California. Call them now at 805-360-4679. That's Santos Bros Plumbing. So for the Paso Robles podcast, it was definitely an idea. I just didn't know what I was going to call it for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I hear static because I think one of the headphones or something is crossing a cable, but it should be fine. It shouldn't pick it up. But so I started thinking about, okay, so I have this room. I rent it out for people to use however they want. I have a real estate person, Get Real with Liz. I have another person, Melanie Blankenship, who she started her own show, or restarted her own show, but not in the usual sense that she was using it before. Now she has a video set up live on Mondays.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to explain how this all works to people. And a lot of people usually, when they hear podcasts, they hear audio, right? Not a lot of video. But YouTube is putting a huge push on YouTube podcasts or on video podcasts. So I'm like, all right, so I got to do something. And I had the idea of doing this kind of show. I just didn't know what to call it. I was thinking, like, okay, call it something wine because it's Paso Robles. And I'm like, nah, there's already where wine takes you. I don't want to mess with him. Call it something more like it's the county based. I'm like, no, there's already What's Up North County. I don't want to mess with his stuff.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And then one night I was just like, I think it was like 2:00 in the morning. It's like, I have a lot of 2:00 in the mornings. And I was just like, why don't I just call it Paso Robles Podcast?
I mean, what did it say? Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple. Just, keep it simple, keep it stupid. Just talk to whoever wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
Not interview style, but just have a conversation.
Sure.
With the result of also promoting them.
Sure.
And I'm just like, okay. And it's really cool to, like, so now that you, like, reached out, I'm just like, all right, so people are starting to listen. People are starting to, like, pay attention. And that's where I go, okay, so I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing something right.
Well, and I think that, too, for me, because I do have a podcast and, some very different aspects, different setting of this. But, like, I listened to a few. I watched a few clips and episodes.
Oh, sweet.
Because I wanted to make sure, like, I was attaching myself to someone that, like, I felt like kind of gave the same quality that I like to give in my store, so. Yeah.
Which I started looking at your store a little bit, and I remember seeing that spot open like 2 years ago or something like that. So you're fairly new.
It was open. I'm a year and a month in, but it was open. I think Paul said they showed it to like over 100 people. Yeah,
no. Before I had this room, there's another room across the way that I started with, and I got a bigger room because a lot of people kept asking me, can you do 3-4 people? And I'm like, oh, it was only a setup for 2 at the beginning, and now, like, okay, and 3 is the magic number, I think, if you want to have a good flow. But I remember driving around, and I saw the for lease sign and stuff like that, and I'm like, and I just pictured in my head, what would it look like in there, So it's kind of cool that I finally. I'm meeting the person who
took it over.
Yeah.
And you're probably the 5th person I've talked to that's like, well, I've talked to a bunch of people that have looked at that building.
Yeah.
And, it was either they couldn't afford it or it was too much square footage and they were looking for something smaller. And then I just expanded because it was 2 units and I took over the whole building. There was another small unit that was probably I think it's 680, 700 square feet. And, similar, it was a photography studio.
Okay.
And she relocated back to the Central Valley, and that's a hard square footage to rent. So
Yeah.
Paul said, "Hey, what do you think?"
Well, I gotta be honest, that size is deceiving because from the outside looking in, it looks like a small like office almost, but it expands.
Yeah,
big time.
And it was an office prior to me taking over.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they're over here somewhere, I think.
Oh, really?
Now. Yeah, they moved out. They still own the building, but they just outgrew that space.
Got it. So Tim from Sheep's Head Outfitters. I've been recording, by the way.
I figured you were.
It should be a lot easier that way. But so you reached out. So I did a little bit of research. I'm guessing you talk to people about hunting outfits and hunting gear, and then you have your own show, so you can promote yourself as much as you want here too.
I
Like, hey, by the way, every Monday, whatever it is.
No, I appreciate that. We, I was born and raised here, and I left for a long time, like young people do, and dabbled in school and other methods of education, and traveled the world, and ultimately ended up back here. And the outdoors, hunting, fishing, conservation they're great passions of mine, and I love to share them with people. And I learned at a young age how important it was to have the right stuff if you're going to spend time in the snow or the rain or the heat. And because of that, I came back and I thought, how is there nothing here for people in North County? You got to go all the way down to Mountain Air, and they're great, or you got to shop at a big box or online. Yeah. And if there's something I know about Paso Robles, it's that we do love community. And so I set out to open this retail store is really what it is. And we sell clothing and all kinds of gear for the outdoors, and you need wool socks, or you need a cooler, or you need backpacking food or something like that. That's what I do. So I kind of pick up where the maybe the guns and ammo stores leave off, or where some of the more niche stuff that maybe Mountain Air Sports doesn't really touch. They do a lot of skiing, snowboarding, that kind of stuff. So, but it's been great. It's, the main goal of the business, you're going to laugh because it's retail stores be like, well, isn't it to make money? Yeah, that's great. But also I don't think you have that opportunity without building a community. And so really the biggest part of what I do is build community and bring local people together. And it doesn't matter if you don't like to hunt or fish or camp or hike, but maybe you spend time outside in your garden, or maybe maybe you ride horses or something like that. And we've got something to keep the rain off you, or keep your feet warm, or keep you comfortable. And I do a lot of events at the store too, and that helps to build community and show people, hey, we're out here, come support local, support small. So.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And when you're saying that there was no place like this anywhere near, for some reason, Big Five came to mind.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because I go in there and obviously you got your sports, you got your shoes in the back, and to the left, they have something going on.
Yeah.
But so when people, a lot of people, I don't know a lot of people that hunt, but the ones that do, they'll share everything with me.
Oh, cool.
The elk, they just freaking got
cool.
they let it, dry, whatever. And I'm like, oh man, it's delicious.
Jerky and stuff.
Jerky, yeah. So good. And I'm like, I want to be a hunter, but at the same time, I don't know if I have the chops.
Yeah.
How did you how did you get into that world?
It's a good question. I was really lucky. I had a family, I had parents that enjoyed those pursuits. I grew up here on the Central Coast, where there was lots of open space to enjoy. And I started bird hunting and fly fishing, were kind of where I got started. And I always joke with people that bird hunting is like a kind of a gateway drug. Like you start with that, and then you go on to pigs and deer, and pigs can be the same way even, but and on up. And there's a lot of people that aren't that fortunate, and I realize that, and that's why again, for the community, and I like trying to build I have a lot of people that come in just like yourself, and they're like, "Hey, man, what steps do I take?" And I'll sit down with you, and we'll write it out, and I'll send you on your way. And hey, when you're ready to, you've done that hunter safety course and things like that, come back and buy your hunting license from me, and we'll get you out there and show you where to go, and how to do it safely, and how to bring other people involved in it. And man, it's been really fun to have conversations with people that have never thought of themselves as we'll just say like pro hunting,
right?
And then I've got one friend, Katie, she plays music at my events, and she's a vegan, but she says, man, she was nervous the first time. She was like, I don't really know about hunters, and then she was like, man, your friends are so nice. I love hanging out. Right. Everybody's so great. And she comes to all the events now, and, loves learning about conservation and, different things like that. So there's a place for everybody.
It's interesting that you mentioned she's vegan, because I don't think it's based off the choice of what you get your nutrients from or whatever. But having that like connection to nature when you're outside with a group of people. Some people like to be isolated. It's all good, but it becomes like this, like a drug almost, right? Like if people need to be around other people. We're social animals and stuff like that. So I guess my mind's going right now is like, all right, so you guys you help people learn and know more about hunting. Yeah. But to me, like camping and hunting are both like almost the same, because a lot of the hunting stuff, it takes forever to even find any animals out there. Yeah. So you also have to walk them through what you need to prepare to just stay out on a cold night. Yeah.
Stay out on a cold night. How to get water, how to prepare your food. They are two activities that are pretty closely related, but can also be completely separate. I mean, I've been, I haven't ever been on a hunt where I will this September go on a hunt where I'll stay in a lodge with plumbing and food, and that'll be a nice treat. Yeah, I guess so, maybe. But then also, like, you can go camping and not even take a fishing rod. Right. There's plenty of people that do that. So, everything in that wide umbrella spectrum of the outdoors, that's my main goal, man. I just want to get people outdoors. I want to get people to recognize, hey, like, there's some really wonderful places on the Central Coast to spend time outdoors that aren't in a vineyard. And nothing, a lot of my customers are hardcore wine people and spend time in the vineyards. But I think they also like to go camp and fish and hunt too. So it's a broad umbrella, and regardless of your interests, if you're spending time outdoors, like I said, maybe it's in the garden, maybe it's on horseback. Sheep's Head Outfitters will help you out. Keep you comfortable, looking good too. That's always important. So.
Yeah. So what kind of style do people usually look for? Like beginners to like professionals? When they first walk into the door, I'm thinking camo, everything camo. Yeah. And then professionals, I think like these. I mean, I don't even consider it camo. It's just dark clothes or dark colors to like blend in more, because camouflage doesn't fit with everything.
It's funny you say that, man, because I've actually gotten some we'll call it constructive feedback that I don't carry enough camo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's certain animals that if you're pursuing them, turkey, we're in turkey season right now. Okay. And if you're pursuing turkeys, it's better they've got good eyesight, so you want to be camouflaged. Okay. There's other animals, that it's not as important, and there's some of the best hunting clothing out there they don't make camouflage. So I sell a brand called Stone Glacier out of Bozeman, Montana, and it's some of the best stuff I've ever used in my life. They do not make camouflage.
Oh wow.
And those guys that wear that stuff and are sponsored by that brand, they go out and hunt elk and sheep and deer and turkey and pig just like anybody else, But then, there are people, and I don't disagree with them. I'm going on turkey hunt in a couple weeks, and I will be wearing camo. So I carry brands that also make camouflage. And so, style is, it's personal. It's always, for whatever you're doing, it's personal. I think the thing I always tell people is like, hey, this stuff can be expensive because it's really high quality. And don't forget that more deer have been killed in Wranglers than anything else. So, don't feel like the clothes are going to make you successful or not successful. The gear isn't going to make you successful or not successful. It's the work that you put in and the mindset that you enter it all with. And that's really going to be the defining factor of your success.
Yeah. For some reason, I imagine like somebody new to the whole thing coming in, dropping a couple $1,000s, trying to just, stock up on whatever they need. Yeah. But luckily they have you to have the conversation. Yeah. Unless you notice, they're just going to drop money today.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to always take your money. No doubt. But I would rather you came back happy with, spending repeat customer. And, when you're ready to expand to that nice big backpack for the backcountry, you don't need it right away. You're going to be car camping. You don't need the $700 backpack. No. So it's important to me to set people up for success and to make sure that they know that, hey, look, you enter with the right attitude. Success is in the eye of the beholder. And so what is success to you? Well, I had a really good time. Great. That's all that matters, right?
I feel like you should have a sign that says that somewhere in your store.
That's not a bad idea,
man. To keep things in perspective a little bit.
Yeah. That, and I always show the picture behind the counter of my Uncle Rocky, who he just killed a desert bighorn sheep, and he's wearing Wranglers and wool gaiters, and he's been wearing those Wranglers probably since 1975. So
I remember seeing when my grandpa used to go visit Mexico, and there would be some. So they lived in a village where you had to take a plane to get to it.
Okay, very cool.
So with that means there's a lot of wildlife out there.
Yep.
Mountain lions was a big problem.
Yep.
I saw pictures of him with the freaking dead mountain lion next to him because they got to keep their stock.
He probably had sheep or goats or something. Yeah.
So they had to, to them it felt, the picture almost looked like it was just a Saturday for them. Like they went
I
out.
love that, man. That's
and freaking,
so cool.
It's not even, they weren't freaking wife beater. They found the fucking cat. And just went for it.
Yeah. And they went for it, and they knew that, hey, this is what we got to do to keep our investments secure.
And on top of it, they probably grew up with that being a problem constantly, so they knew how to deal with it. So you were born and raised in this area, right?
Yeah, just 10 miles east.
Okay, 10 miles east. Sandon?
Just before Estrella Road.
Oh, okay.
Estrella Road, right there near Tobin James Winery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tobin James, one day.
Yeah.
So Paso has grown a lot. I know you said we're lucky because there's a lot of open fields, but as wineries are buying up properties, how do you see a difference of what's available now to what it was back in the day?
So when I was a kid, where we are right now off Lene Road.
Oh, it was empty.
Well, yeah. And all my good friends lived right up here. And like, this is the first time I've been back here since I moved back.
Oh, it's a trip.
And it's crazy, man. Like someone had told me there was a big development going in back here, but I had no idea. Yeah. Like, it's like, we used to 4x4 like these fields over here, like, well after dark. So, it is. And one of the things that I always, and I'm a big advocate for people that enjoy outdoors and outdoor pursuits is, hey, let's educate you. Like, what is public land? Like, where can we go legally and have a good time and have fun and pick up our trash and get invited back later? Because there is a lot of really beautiful private ranches around here. But there's also some really wonderful places to go spend time outside. We have Lake Nacimiento, Lake San Antonio. We have some really good bodies of water. You've got Fort Hunter Liggett. You've got Big Sandy, if you just want to go out and explore a little bit, right just north of town. So, there's organizations out there, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is a great one, where they are a great resource to learn about public land, public water, how to access it, how it's, what it's used for, some of the different, Army Corps of Engineers. A lot of that land is public. So, somebody wants to come in and talk to me. I'm not going to tell them like, hey, this is the spot I fish every week, but I might say, hey, go out there and check it out, and
do you have like a map you show them on?
I do. I have a map provided because I sell hunting license, fishing license tags. Okay. So I have a map provided by the California Fish and Wildlife. And I can kind of show them all across the state, like, hey, and then, now everything's so digital. It's easy for me to flip around my laptop and say, this is the north shore of Lake Nacimiento.
Let me share this link to you. For an email. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And, I have my hunting buddies are spread all across America. And the fact that we can be somewhere and send each other a point of interest and what we're interested in it for, maybe it's elk hunting or fishing or what have you, is pretty awesome. So, but I do love maps. So I keep one in the drawer that I can pull out.
An actual physical map that you can, smell and touch.
Yep, absolutely.
So, so by the name Sheepshead Outfitters, what else do you provide in the store? Guns and ammo? None of that?
I don't.
And nothing dangerous? Bow and arrows?
Nope. So as far as archery is concerned, my good friends down at Central Coast Archery, just over the hill in San Luis Obispo, they're pros.
Okay.
They know more than I could ever learn in 2 lifetimes. Yeah. I send everybody down there. They're friends of mine. If you need something and you have a question and you come into my store on mistake, we'll call them up and we'll get an answer from Joel and see if they can help us, Guns and ammo, it's probably no surprise. I don't trust the government, so I don't necessarily feel like I need to have a federal firearms license. Yeah. The guys down at Roosters do a really good job, and Bridges and, those other places that have been in business a long time. But we'll, you never know. We'll see how things evolve. Maybe I'll do some sort of partnership with Central Coast Archery, maybe with Roosters, who knows? But it's important too that we sort of build businesses that kind of support each other and don't cannibalize that. Right. And, I think this community has been really, really supportive of me in that way. And I'm so thankful for Central Coast Archery and for Roosters and for all the outfitters in the area that do guided hunts and bring their clients to me for things, because that really honestly, truly makes a huge impact as a new business, trying to just make a little money, keep the doors open.
So you already had those connections before you opened the business, right?
No.
No? Oh, okay. So walk me through that. What'd you do? Did you, because just from what I'm gathering, you do a good job, or at least you kind of put yourself out there a little bit.
Trying
to talk to me.
Yeah, trying.
So you didn't have those connections, but you just mentioned them as good friends, good buddies, whatever.
Absolutely.
So how'd that grow? How'd that start and grow?
I guess kind of the same way, it's hard to do anything new. And especially in the state of California, to say, hey, I'm interested in hunting and fishing and I want to promote that and I want to make a living off of it. Yeah. And so, that's what those folks are doing. That's what they're doing down there at Roosters. That's what they're doing at Central Coast Archery and Oakstone Outfitters and Frontera and Wildland and all these outfitters. And so, first and foremost, like I said, I'm not cannibalizing them. I'm not taking anything from them. I'm just supporting them. Right. I'm sort of an addition to what they're already offering customers, if you think about that like that. But it was similar to me reaching out to you, man. It's like, I want to spread the word. I want to be successful, and if I can do that in an authentic and good way, people want to latch onto that, and that's why we've become friends. And I support their businesses and they support me, and that's why I have no problem talking about their business on this podcast. Yeah. The only thing that would be better is if they were sitting with me, and promoting them themselves.
Which is something I always tell my guests, like, bring somebody next time that you want to promote too.
Okay.
Because I got, for me, because they can't see everything, but there's one spot that's taking up because I'm doing camera angles by myself.
Oh, okay.
So I'm here.
You're directing as we're going along. Yeah. Gosh, you're so much more talented than John. No, I'm just kidding, John.
Bring him. We can chat it up.
Well, John would love to. Yeah, absolutely. Talk
shop.
Well, yeah. So, and I guess that's a good point too. So, in that like never ending battle of promotion that new businesses have to do. Yeah, absolutely. And I made a friend through a friend, the guy that did all my branding. His name's Chris John. And he's like, oh, you got to meet my buddy John. He's so cool. And you guys will get along. And we met, and then we kind of just hit it off and became friends. And then he's like, you want to do a podcast? And I was like, oh, okay. And he was kind of doing some like outdoor films at the time. He's relatively new to hunting and fishing and things. So I said, sure. And, it turned into something really special, because it's like, you've got this me who I was kind of born and raised outdoors and hunting and fishing. And then you got John, who's new to it. So we might have a guest on, and like what I want to ask them is totally different than what John wants to ask them.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's still centered around, that whole like community aspect and feel of like, promoting people doing good things and knowledge. And, we had our friend Sebastian on before the start of turkey season, and he's the regional director for the National Wild Turkey Federation. And John's asking like core questions about like hunting these animals, and I'm like asking nerd questions about the biology and the history and things like that. So it makes
like
for
our turkeys adapting to their environment.
totally. We talk about domesticated turkeys and like neighborhood turkeys. I forget. Sebastian said something like they're like my arch enemy because they make people think that we don't need to protect them, but we do. We do need to protect these animals, and things like that. So we have the Curious Hunter podcast. So if you're listening and you want to, hear me more, and with my good friend John, we have the Curious Hunter podcast, and I think we're on episode 9 or 10 right now. And we got a couple more slated to come out. So we're excited about that. Yeah. And new films being produced and recorded and released. And we've got some really exciting end of summer travel plans to make some more films. So it's and John's local to the area as well. And so it's fun to have friends like that you can kind of live out your childhood dreams with.
Yeah, no, making those connections, making them last, or trying your best to make them last, and that's one of the things I've told myself at least like the last 10 years is like I meet people and I've told them straight out. We might have been drinking a little bit, but I usually
no such thing.
I was sober, and I usually was like, dude, you and I are going to be friends for a while. I'm telling you right now, we just started hanging out, but I'm telling you right now, like we're going to be friends for a while, and we are. We get out of touch, get in touch, and stuff like that. Especially when you move to somewhere else and you move back.
Sure,
that happens. But it's funny that you mentioned like roosters and archery and all the. I've been in the indoor and outdoor one in Slow. Both fun places. One of them seems a little too indoor-ish for me, so I like the outside one.
Yeah.
And Radio Shack went kaput a long time ago, but there was somebody local that had a Radio Shack here, kept the name, it was local, privately owned.
The one over there on Spring Street.
It was on Creston.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was on Creston. And then when I started the studio, I was like, okay, maybe I can talk to him, bring him in, and we'll start promoting him and get people that way to kind of revitalize the whole visiting a store for electronics stuff.
Sure.
And maybe even include like podcast stuff, right? And then like I think shortly after I started the show, closing.
Oh no!
I'm like, no, that was terrible. So for you, I'm thinking about the same thing. It's like, okay, who do you want to talk to, or who have you talked to that I know for sure was on your list? Of making that connection.
You mean so like how that was your guy? Yeah, all the outfitters in the area that actually do, I don't do the guided hunts or things like that, but I've become buds, I would say, with all of them, and that was really good. Oakstone Outfitters is really supportive. Casey Nick has like, I remember the first time he messaged me, I wasn't even open yet. Frontera Hunting, Bitterwater Outfitters, Wildland Hunting. All those guys have just been like, they make it like almost part of their like experience for their clients that they come to Sheepshead and they get their pig tags or whatever. And that's really awesome. So that was something I was, to be honest with you, a little concerned about. I was like, oh man, I hope I get, the blessing from these guys. Cause, they have a lot of people coming in to hunt. Outside of that, Central Coast Archery, like all the guys I've mentioned already. Yeah. And like I said, it's, the hunting and outdoor the hunting and fishing community might get a bad rap for, being cranky or closely guarded, but man, nothing but genuine acceptance and help. And I think that speaks a lot to the industry, but I also think it speaks a lot to where we live. And we live in a small town and a good community, man. And that's I want to keep that alive. I don't want that to disappear as we continue to grow.
Yeah, I think Paso has a lot of things going for it. At the same time, that we as the community itself needs to keep it that way. It's a weird checks and balances thing going on constantly, whether you realize it or not. Right. And it's funny because Paso has been doing that so well. Like you'll hear articles here about the water. You'll hear articles about the price and trash pickup increase, whatever. Right. But it's like drops in the bucket. Yes. Keep those in mind and should make sure everything's like, okay, who's messing around that they're trying to get away with something. Right. But there's this weird like common thought or community thought that like, okay, Paso needs to stay a certain way while still growing. Sure. And I feel like it's doing an amazing job, especially the way you just described the other businesses where people like, if they're from the outside, they usually think, oh, it's going to be like grumpy, keep their hand on the
we want to keep
holster.
what's ours, and we don't like outsiders.
Right.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you want to educate them and not join us, but like be a part of it.
And we talk about that a lot in hunting and fishing is, there's a gatekeeping aspect to it. And I think we can apply that to other areas of our lives. And, keeping Paso is maybe one of those. And it's not like we're gatekeeping, like to keep certain people out. Yeah. It's that we want to include them, but we want to make sure that there's like a respect and there's an authenticity to their intentions in the area, and into the town and into hunting and into whatever. And, it's funny you say that, like, I'm so big on it. I actually joined the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce here at Paso Templeton, which has been really fun. I'm new to it in January, and I've already made friends and reconnected with people that, I grew up with. And, so that's been great. And it's been really fun to see some of the behind the scenes of like, man, it's not easy to keep Paso. And I think the chamber has a really difficult job, and the city council has a difficult job. And we as constituents have our job, right? To keep those things the way that they are as we continue to grow and want to prosper. But, what I can tell you is it's been really fun to see that, like, there's sort of like one mindset that they if they were sitting here, they would agree with us.
They're like, and they're just getting hyped.
Yeah. So it's fun to see the behind the scenes. Everybody's working really hard at that stuff. And, I'm such a believer in community that, I was like, I'm going to join the board of directors. And it's been really, really rewarding so far.
Yeah, I've reached out to Paso Templeton Chamber.
Oh, cool.
Hopefully they want to be a sponsor of the show one day.
Okay.
It's Paso Robles, so I'm reaching out to anybody who like has that just incorporated in them. Sure. Like whether it's a company or person.
You should get some of them on. Like,
that's another big reason why I want to have them as sponsors is two birds, one stone kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have them as sponsors, and then they give me a list of people they want me to sit down with.
Maybe. Yeah, that too. And have, I'm sure you could get some of those folks that actually work for the chamber to come on here and help promote your store and promote the chamber and or promote your store, promote your story,
the business, the story.
Yeah. And, but no, they're more than happy to spread the good word too. So, but remind me of that when we're done, and I'll try to help you connect with some of those folks.
Yeah, and likewise, I'll try to help you. I know you have your tech guy, but I would love to throw some ideas at you, because even before we started recording, I was like, "Hey, are you using
nerding out?"
Right away.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking. John's like kind of redoing some of the branding on the podcast and sending me these screenshots and asking me how I feel about the font and compared to the other font, and it looks the exact same to me. So I just write back #nerd shit, and my brain just doesn't work like that. This is how my brain works. But you and John, there's a technical, and for him especially a design aspect to it that while I respect it, and I'm probably a little better than the average Joe at recognizing it. One of the things I learned a long time ago was to leave the pros, that stuff to them. Don't try to act like you know what you're talking about.
Make a shirt out of it, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nerd shit. Yeah.
So design. You talked about like me and John most likely will get along, talking shop, whatever. Yeah, sure. Was there somebody that you had in mind when you were starting your business with Sheep's Head Outfitters? Like, did you like, you saw this one, like that's kind of how I want to model it?
Yeah, that's a great question that I've been asked, but never like this
officially.
So my life before retail, I worked in tech, and I actually worked for design agencies a lot of times. So I hired a lot of those people, and the two people responsible for my branding came from that part of my life.
Okay.
Jimmy Watkins and Chris John, and two of the most talented designers I've ever been around, and especially when it comes to brand design and logos and things like that. And, I'd like to say, I hired them and that's why they're so good. Actually, they were the only guys hired when I was hired. So like I was actually the late one, but we sat down and we had a whole process, man. We built lots of decks and had slides, and they asked me about inspiration, and they asked me, I was inspired by Yeti and their retail stores. there was a company in Austin, I think they're still around, Austin, Texas, called Drop House Design, that did a lot of that retail design, and I really loved it. Takova's down there. There's a lot. Duck Camp, which is a brand that I actually carry in the store. Their retail design was wonderful. Okay. And so I took the elements kind of from all those different places and then paired it with, the visual identity that Jimmy and Chris helped me create. And ultimately I had a vision. They really helped me like bring that to life and really helped me to like refine it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Had they not done that, it probably would have been all over the place. This wall is kind of like this, this wall is like this. And, a lot of different sort of inspirations for that. But, ultimately the vision was mine. Those guys helped me to refine it and make it look good. So
how'd you come up with the name?
I was, talking to a really dear friend of mine, and she was like, we were down to like the last couple names. We had voted on them and sent them out to close friends and trusted advisors, and we were down to the last two. And the other one was probably would have been easy for you to pronounce, but not everybody else. And it was Spanish.
Oh, really?
And she said, you really wanted something that like no one's going to struggle with. And while I didn't struggle with it, growing up here, a lot of people probably would. And the feeling of Sheepshead when you walk in the door, there's a fire, there's a sofa, you can hang out, you can have a beer, a glass of wine while you shop. It's kind of like a lounge, kind of like a pub. And so Sheepshead was one of the final two. And she said, you're really giving off that vibe, and it's like an English pub, and, maybe that's the direction you should go. So I stuck with it.
No, that's good. And is that your logo on
my cap? Yeah, it is. It's one of them. I've got a couple different ones now, but this is the original. We call this the crest logo.
Okay. So I don't know why my wife and I were having a conversation about sheep and goat and what's the difference and what the sound they make and stuff like that. Yeah. One's ba and one's meh.
Yeah.
So sheep, do they usually have the horns?
So we're specifically talking about wild sheep, right?
Okay.
But domestic sheep, some of them do have horns, some of them don't have horns. Wild sheep, all of them have horns. Okay. The horns like this, like you see on my logo here, that is typically a ram or a male. Yeah. And then the ewes have horns as well. They're just much smaller horns. There's, in North America, there's 4 or 5 species of wild sheep, and that's kind of what it's known as one of the most difficult and sought after hunts in North Actually, and I like that.
Can you elaborate why?
They live in very difficult to get to places. So actually, let me back up. To first of all, even get the ability to go hunting for them, you have to draw a special tag. And those tags are few and few. I mean, there's people that have been trying for 25, 30 years, 40 years to draw these tags, depending on the state that they're in, right? And if you're lucky enough to draw that tag, it's expensive. It can range anywhere from $600 if you're a resident of the state, up to $5,000 and $6,000 if you're not a resident of the state. And that's just the ones that go to the public auction, right? There's also tags that you can purchase at conservation benefit auctions and things like that. And we saw one at the sheep show this year go for over $1 million just to go hunt a sheep. So yeah, it's insane, man.
Am I in the wrong business?
Dude, and all that money goes back into conservation at those things. So it's for a good cause, right? And ultimately, I believe it's a tax write-off too. So
well, I was just thinking that too. It's like somebody's going like, I got to wash this money. So
I got to. Well, and if you're looking for a tax write-off and you're into hunting and maybe you got a big old construction company or something, it's a good thing. So then you get this tag and then you're like, okay, now I got to go find these sheep, and they live in the most remote and difficult to get to places, really in the world, regardless of what continent you're on and what subspecies you're chasing. So it's really impressive. I know that the few sheep hunts that I have been able to participate in, We climbed the third tallest mountain in Nevada 3 times. And there was only sheep up there once.
Oh,
So
wow.
you've got to be willing to like go to those places and check, and I like those types of things that are so difficult but so rewarding if because like I said, like they might give away one of those tags in half a state for the whole year. So
That's insane. So when you say participate, somebody else had the tag, so how does that work? Like how many people can be like kind of attached to that?
as many as really want, but I guess that's a good question though. I think I like smaller groups. Also, like, are you physically able to go do that? It's to climb those mountains and take that time off work and, beat yourself
Physically
up.
able? No.
Yeah. And so, that's actually where the term tag along came from. So on the hunt, I've done it with as little as 2 other people.
Yeah.
One other person, with my Uncle Rocky's hunt where you see the picture and that was, I don't know, there was 5 or 6 of us up at the top of the mountain.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends. Different species, maybe garner like, you'll hear people talk about deer camp or elk camp, and there might be 10 or 12 people in there. You're not all hunting together during the day, but you come back at night, you cook together, you have a few beers, you get ready for the next day, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So tag along. That's really cool that I know that now. So like if you got a tag, you were lucky enough to get a tag, and you have like 5, 6 other people, technically they can all pitch in and
you're the only one that can pull a trigger.
Okay.
But they can help you with the binoculars, looking for animals. There's usually somebody might help take care of food and cook in camp and things depending on what you're doing. You're the
designated trigger.
You're the trigger. You're the only one legally that can pull that trigger. And now, I go hunting with friends. We all have the same tag depending on the species. We might all have an elk tag or we might all have a whatever. And so we can all do that. And it's up to each group and each person. We kind of generally say, hey, whoever sees it gets first right of refusal. So if I'm out with you and you see the elk first and you're like, nah, I don't want that one. Okay, Tim, now it goes to you, Okay.
Yeah, because I can only imagine like if somebody was I go on this mindset where like there's people out there like hawking tickets or something, not selling them.
Yeah.
But like vice versa. They see you with the permission. Are people like waiting there to like join the group?
No. It's there's like a
code to it.
Yeah, it's a very, very you are invited. It's very sort of close knit groups. It's very regulated too. So the people with the tags, they're getting those from their state wildlife agencies. So there is tag poaching that goes on. There's people that will kill animals illegally, and that's the horrible stuff that we absolutely hate based on just like your ethics and your fair chase and your and if we're out there to conserve these places and these animals, and
you keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
If somebody else you see that's odd,
report the heck out of them.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's important that we don't look at game wardens as like the bad guys. Those are the guys trying to make sure that we have the right to hunt and fish, and our kids do and our grandkids do and things like that.
Yeah. So being from Paso and doing all this like fly fishing and hunting, and you mentioned having a few beers, are there any like Paso brands that you take with you as far as like beer, or do you stick with like
Man, well, that's
Light?
it depends. So if I'm like doing a backpack hunt, I'm leaving all that stuff at home because
Extra
my
weight.
pack, it already carries 60, 70 pounds.
Yeah.
If we're camping out of the truck or we've got some wall tents or something, heck yeah,
I'm just trying to like plug in some, I don't know.
Yeah,
Cal
Coast, Firestone, absolutely, Barrel House. All those local guys are awesome beer.
Being in an area with wine and porch pounders are trying to show up. Do you take any wine in the camp?
I think I probably have.
Okay,
but I don't. I think I probably had Field Recordings. They did a collab wine with my good friends at Lincoln Market down in Slow.
Okay.
Mike and Becky Hicks. And I think I probably took those on a deer hunt one time. And they were fun canned wines,
Yeah.
So, but I think that's the only one. Shout out to Field Recordings. Shout out to Lincoln Market. Those were good though.
Yeah, because maybe like 2-3 years ago, I would have a few that they just came out with. It wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
But now they're getting good.
Like, you mean the canned wines
canned
and stuff?
wine.
Yeah.
No. And I'm just like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
Because you see the percentage on there.
Yeah. Dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous. But yeah, man. And you know, I'll go. Gosh, Drew and I and Bobby, we did the Middle Fork Wilderness in Idaho a few years ago, and I was like, I mean, that's one of the biggest wildernesses in the lower 48. It is the largest. And I mean, we were packing in. So I don't think I drank months before that. I didn't drink. And then after, like the day after, I remember I had a cold beer, like when we got out of there. And man, it was good. It was good.
I remember camping when I was a little younger, Santa Margarita.
Sure.
Camping.
Yeah.
And we were like 15 minutes away from in town or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember, beer was a big part of it.
They can be.
Yeah, and then, man, I don't remember cooking any food out there, but it was somebody else cooked.
Well, now even it's so the food that you can cook from like freeze dried and dehydrated meals is so good now.
No,
I carry a couple in my store. Heather's Choice. Heather's been on my podcast. And they're originally out of Alaska. They just relocated to Southern Oregon, I think Medford. But that stuff is so good, and it doesn't upset your stomach. And it's and then Good to Go is the other one, and I think they're out of Maine originally. But these are like, you know, made in Maine. We're not going overseas to get our food. So, but like I think people love to camp and make burgers and hot dogs and steaks, and that stuff's awesome. But if you need something quick, like man, these freeze-dried dehydrated meals nowadays are unreal.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And one of the big things I know for sure, camping, hunting, coffee.
Oh yeah.
Do you have coffee available in the store?
Yeah.
Who is it?
So I have 2 coffee brands. I have one called Wild Rivers Coffee. They were a family that I met when I was living in Texas, and 2% of everything that they make goes back into conservation. And depending on what bag you buy, that bag is associated with a different conservation group. So Wild Rivers is like my whole bean. And then I have a dehydrated coffee as well. And of course, like now I'm drawing a blank, and it's horrible that that's the case, because I had some this morning, but it'll come to me. They're out of Bend, Oregon, Farewell Coffee. And they make whole bean as well, but I'm a really loyal person, so I'm not going to bring in a competitor.
Yeah.
But I bring it. Their instant coffee is really the best and I've tried a lot of instant coffees from all over America. And people actually got to where they were sending them to me, knowing I was trying a bunch of different ones. Yeah, I got some from like Virginia, North Carolina, New York City, and the Farewell Coffee out of Bend, Oregon is like awesome stuff.
Yeah, because I know, especially with a spot like yours, being able to get into a retail store for any coffee maker, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and I don't do a massive amount of volume, but I will tell you, I do better with it than I thought it would. I buy more of it than I thought I would.
Really?
Yeah, man, it's and I'm really low on both right now. I need to reorder some, but yeah, Wild Rivers is great stuff and goes to a good cause, and then Farewell is also really good. And I think the owner of that, he's a fireman up in Bend, Oregon, a wildland fire guy. So love to support those folks too.
Yeah, I've been staying away from coffee right now because I got some stuff in my tooth.
Yeah,
and caffeine kind of deteriorates it a little bit. But I've always wanted to, kind of like how you have a wine tasting, tequila flight. I want to do different types of coffee because I don't always want to put creamer, but at the same time, I haven't found a plain coffee that I can drink. How did you find? Did you like coffee this entire time? I know this is like off the.
Oh
topic,
yeah, no,
I
could not live
mind's just
without
working.
it.
Yeah,
I could not live without coffee at this point. And if I'm gonna have a vice and it's coffee, that's quite all right with me. But and it's funny, when I was a kid, I didn't really, and I was up at like 4 a.m. for swim practice, but grew to love coffee and love good coffee and love supporting small roasters, and we have some good ones here in Paso. And I only drink. Now at home I only drink either Farewell or Wild Rivers. So
well, that's good. Yeah. I want to get back to coffee at some point, but usually I stick with like the store, like medium bold or like medium
Oh
what's it
man, you
called?
got some good ones here though, like some good roasters locally. So
Like I said, I've never made the time to
Yeah.
try it out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've had a few other ones, but like I said, I put creamer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I ruin it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like I need
You do.
it
You
sweeter.
ruin it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a
No.
ruiner.
I'm black coffee all the way, man. I love those flavors, but
Yeah.
but no, and you go down there. There's a term for coffee tasting, and I for the life of me cannot remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. But I can't get it out. It's something that doesn't sound like it would be like tasting coffee, but similar to how you taste like wine or beer, like a flight of beer. You know,
Yeah.
like you can do that with coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, go down there to some of our awesome coffee shops. But and I'm drawing a blank now. Joe Bella, which is now rebranded into I don't remember, and then Spearhead is right over there
Spearhead,
too.
yeah.
So yeah, man, support those guys because it's actually really good coffee. It's cool.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think one of the big things that I like to take away from the guests is how one, Paso Robles, your local, obviously. That's a big point of this show.
Yeah.
But a big thing that I just kept repeating in my head, like right now, and I haven't asked you much of because it seems so like common and during the show is
obvious.
American made.
Yeah.
Very much American made. So I can't ask you about tariffs.
Yeah, you can, and they do affect me. It's difficult to find American made clothing. I sell a lot of American made products, but it is difficult to find the clothing. It might not be China, but it might be Vietnam or Sri Lanka, or you never know. So I am seeing some price increases throughout the year. So as if things weren't already hard for small business, right? But I really try to support American-made companies and not, I sell Finex cast iron. They're right out of Portland, Oregon. Decked, which we know is famous for the drawer systems in the pickup trucks.
Okay.
I sell their carry-all boxes. They call them the Deco boxes. Those are made out of Utah and Ohio. Obviously, the coffee brands we just talked about. Darn Tough wool socks are right out of Vermont. Orvis, they still make rods and reels right here in America. Same with Galvin. Galvin's actually made in California. So where I can, I absolutely 100% try to do that. But it would not be able to sustain itself if I only had American-made products, as sad as that is.
Unfortunately, yeah, I know. Yeah. I agree. I'm sure, like all this equipment, a big part of it is Rode, an Australia-based company.
Yeah.
So it's
electronics is even harder than clothing, I'd imagine. So I try to do. If I can't do American-made, I hope they're based here in America. So.
No. Was there anything you want to tell the audience before we wrap it up? Because I think so. One, you have a podcast show called again,
The Curious Hunter.
The Curious Hunter. Yeah. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
more.
And watch the films too. There's films, detailing hunting and fishing exploits that John and I to some extent go on, and then the podcast we're trying to do bi-weekly. It's really hard with both of us having lives outside of the podcast.
Well, I'm sure I can help if you guys want to chat it up more.
Yeah, no, we will definitely stay connected for sure. And and then come by the store, man. I'm 16th and Spring Street, so right between the Market Walk and the downtown park. Come by. You don't have to buy anything. You can just come introduce yourself and say.
Tell them that they heard you on the podcast.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, tell them you heard me on the podcast. Tell me you heard me on the podcast, and introduce yourself. Just say welcome to the community, and if I've got some cold beer, you're welcome to them. But ultimately, I just want people to walk through the door and see that what we're doing, and that it's something special, and it's not just a retail store. And I know you mentioned Big Five earlier, and they've been around a long time and they're good at what they do. And but what we do is completely different.
Right.
So there's something special there.
I'm a big dude. I have size 14 shoes.
Damn, son.
I got a size 8 hat.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love it. I don't even do fitted hats because of that.
Everything's one size fits all.
Everything's adjustable. Yeah. Do you even fit in an adjustable hat?
Really?
No. You go to the last little nub there and it doesn't work?
Last one still feels really tight and like not all the way down. Damn. And it's funny though, because a lot of people have merch and they share it with me.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible because they're giving me the merched or the branded hat.
Yeah.
And I keep it. I have a collection.
Yeah, sure.
But I can't wear them because they just don't fit. This is Flex Fit. And even then, when you see something called Flex Fit online,
it's one size fits most.
It's one size fit most. So you have to get like the extra large Flex Fit on top of that. And I'm just like, I like to consider myself smart.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a big
that's why I started giving people koozies.
Koozies.
Yeah, because like everybody, it doesn't matter if you're drinking a beer or a can of wine.
Yeah.
You could use a neoprene koozie. So
Speaking of drink, this episode is technically brought to you by the White Wave Wellness.
White Wave Wellness.
Yeah, just I told her, like, look, if you want to leave a bottle, for the guest to have, it's ionized water. So this is a machine that you hook up to.
So I can drink this.
You can drink it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me know what it tastes like.
I'm gonna.
But it's a
I
machine.
saw that episode.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And it's. I already knew bottled water isn't the greatest to begin with.
Sure,
right? It's been boiled and cooled so many times. Like, but at the same time, like I don't have the money to invest in the machine.
Sure.
But learning about it was really interesting because like it's funny how much people know when you start talking to them about it. Like when you talk to me, I know a little bit, and for some reason that information that was the back of my head starts creeping forward.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, don't take beer because it's going to add weight to your. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm not going to talk about it every day. So it was kind of cool sitting down, listening to her and talking to her, and then sitting down with you and talking to you and just anybody else really that wants to come in here and like that bit of information. I feel like
isn't it fun in your podcast to be able to like learn?
Yeah,
man, that's my favorite part. I learn things every time. Yeah, and I get so impressed by people.
So I've had a kind of conversation with a friend one time. We were talking about Joe Rogan and how influential he is now, and how much of an expert I think he is. Regardless if he does, he says I'm stupid. I don't know anything, right? Because he likes to keep things real, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But if you have enough, it's like going to class. You go to class enough time, you don't have to have the certificate to know what you're talking about. So for me, when he says something and people are like, "Oh, that's not right," I'm like, "Well, I was just saying it. I'm on the show." I'm like, dude, at some point, there's some accountability to that. So, but it's kind of cool. Like I'm at the very beginning stage of all that, so I don't think I have to worry too much. But I do at the same time, like, okay, let's not talk about like what kind of deer and
don't get too in the weeds.
Don't get into the weeds. Kind of thing.
I do that, man, and it's because like we have such interesting guests on that know such specific things, and I actually even have to stop myself sometimes because I'll be like, oh man, like one guest will be totally interesting to me, like with real nerdy reasons, and I know that it will not translate to anyone else. So you're like, I gotta hold back on that.
No, I get that exact same feeling. And then when I watch the episode later, I'm on a tangent. And I'm like, that was not valuable to anybody. Oh, dude,
whatsoever. I have to pull myself back all the time and be like, okay, let's redirect.
Let's redirect. And usually I do that by making fun of myself at some point.
Well, I learned a little bit watching your podcast here with the ionized water. So
sweet. Yeah, but
I'm excited to try it in that pretty blue bottle.
Yeah, I know. I gave her the Amazon link to buying those bottles because she was bringing a gallon, like a big glass.
Yeah.
And I told her, like, well, here, look, if you drop off the bottles, it's gonna be a lot easier to carry around anyway. But
for sure.
This is, and she has a blue bottle she carries around to promote herself too.
I'd love to pick her brain. That's cool.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, if you're listening, come to Sheepshead and tell me about water.
I'll nudge her that way.
Yeah, that's cool,
and see what she thinks. But
I just like learning.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, the whole reason about the Paso Robles podcast is to learn, to have a conversation. At least I learned. I don't care if anybody in the audience learned anything.
Yeah. Well,
this is my selfish.
Yeah, man. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you having me on and getting me on quick and stuff like that. And you know just as well as I do, it's hard being a small business out there. So we're trying, man.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah, we got to support each other.
Yeah.
First quarter is no fun for anybody.
I just picked up a new sponsor today before you sat down.
Awesome. Congrats. Do you want to say who it is?
Western Janitor Supply downtown.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. But I worked
Been going there for years.
I managed the movie theater.
Okay.
So I knew them very well.
Yeah.
So before you came in, I'm over here trying to like work the angles and stuff like that. You know what? Let's just go back to the basics. Talk to who I know.
Sure.
And I just rang them up like, we'll be a sponsor. All right, cool. Yeah.
They're the nicest people, man.
Oh yeah, they'll help you. Nice. They'll do exactly what you say you do in your store. They'll walk you, literally. Come follow me,
dude. Before I opened, I went there, and that's what they did.
Yeah,
they were like, "What do you need? Okay, are you doing this? You doing this?" And they gave me everything I needed.
Yeah,
and you know, people kind of write it off because it's janitorial equipment, but it's important.
Oh man, it's super
and it's
important.
more complicated than you might think.
Yeah, and they have good quality stuff. They'll even tell you like, look, if we don't have it, we'll tell you where to get it. Yeah. But at the same time, they'll give you like the disclaimer, like, "Hey, by the way, this is going to do this to your pipes."
See, they're already getting their money's worth right now.
Yeah, they're already. Hopefully, whoever's stuck this long and listened to, the fact that I'm mentioning them, that's a good because they're committed to the show already. You know, and that's one thing is ad placement that I'm trying to figure out too. Yeah, like the later
us too.
The later, yeah. Us too. Well, we can chat more about that after.
We will, man. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I'm glad to make this connection.
Yeah, me too.